Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, families and friends. Welcome back to another podcast of mine. This is a podcast with a difference. Sorry about the lighting, I'm trying to get the lighting correctly. So, this podcast is about an experience I had and I want to share, and I felt impressed while I'm here doing my morning walk. I feel impressed to share an experience I had, and as the topic depicts, miracle on the motorway. Well, as usual, while living in the UK, I had several assignments, and these assignments is to go places out of London, and these places were quite far. The furthest I've been was 8 hours drive away. To Edinburgh, I would go to places like Scotland, and this specific day I was heading to a place called Liverpool. Now, Liverpool was what, 4.5 hours away from London, which was a total of 226 miles away. So, as usual, going on these long journeys, I would get my snacks. I would make sure the car is fully petroled. Petrol is okay. The tanks are full. The oil was checked, and everything was in order for this long drive. So I started out on my journey around something to midday. It's about 10:30, 11. I started out on my journey. As usual, I love to listen talk show. Having people talking like the radio talking around me, I would love these talk shows because it's as if someone was there keeping my company. From time to time, I would switch to our London radio gospel channel where I would listen to some gospel music, etc. Anyway, I started out on my journey. Had to work that night on a night shift and set out. While it was going about an hour, could be less, about 45 minutes on the highway. This was now the M25 I had to take to Liverpool. The M25 is one of our major highway that leads to everywhere. So if you want to go to Wales, you take the M25. You want to go to Scotland, you can fly to Scotland too, but you can take the M25 if you wish to drive. It's just similar to the I-95 here in the US. So started on my journey, enjoying the countryside because I love going to these country areas where you can see the mountains, you can see the greenery, unlike London where you had the artificial flowers. Beautiful place in London, but these flowers you normally see, these were planted, and when it comes on to winter, they'll take these flowers up, etc., because of the snow. But you could see the natural greenery, and these were the things I love to see. About 45 minutes to an hour into my journey, I felt the car made a jolt. I'm very keen about how my vehicle sounds and how it is, so I was said to myself, what is happening here? I know the car has petrol in it. It's serviced. The car has taken me on several major journeys before. So why now I'm feeling a jolt? Anyway, I soon forget it. Listen to a very interesting talk show, totally forget that I felt that jolt because I was reassured that I had 3/4 of a tank of petrol in the car, so I was okay. So I continued on my journey. About another 3 to 4 miles into the journey, I felt another jolt again, and this time it was more like I hit something. My friends, this got me very concerned. I was saying, no, this is certainly not normal. Then I started whispering a prayer. I said, Lord, please let this car take me to where I'm going. Now, the M25, as I said, it was the major highway. They started in 2010 to reconstruct the highway by putting in an extra lane, taking away the hard shoulder, and calling the M25 or section of the M25 the smart motorway. I was hearing a lot about the smart motorway, and sometimes you don't think about things until you are in that situation. And sure enough, I was now on this smart motorway. I started looking around just in case the car decided to stop or to break down. I had somewhere to stop, and there was nowhere, no hard shoulder to be seen. From time to time, I remember passing signs like it would say 10 miles to the nearest either rest spot or rest stopped. This is where you can stop, refresh yourself, get petrol, or to get some snacks to eat, or it will say another 5 miles to the nearest hard shoulders. So these were the different signs you had on this motorway, or the so-called smart motorway. Since it was designed in 2010, up to the time I was on it in 2022, you had a total of about 79 deaths reported on the M25. So people were getting very concerned. There were people who were given experience that they met in an accident because of this M25. So people were concerned and pleading to the government that they need to do something about this smart motorway. And as usual, the government wasn't saying anything. Anyway, by now, while I was there thinking, looking around for the hard shoulder, if I can see an hard shoulder, how far I was from a rest stop or a so-called hard shoulder, the car lost power. So I started praying. I said, Lord, have mercy. And guess what? Every time I go somewhere, any journey, no matter where I'm going, I always pray. Because I know from my experience, since I started driving, the enemy had a plan, just want to take me out in accidents. So I always pray, no matter where I'm going or short the journey is, I will always pray. So I start praying. I said, Lord, please take me to the nearest rest stop or a hard shoulder so I can stop. Because by now I was there pressing away on the accelerator or the gas pedal, and nothing was happening. When I looked at the dashboard, all the lights were on. So, you know, when you get a stall and all that light come up, all the lights were on, but remarkably, the engine was still going. This kind of confused me. So I was saying to myself, trying to diagnose a problem, what could have been going on. I said, I'm probably having an electrical problem or something. Anyway, I started watching the speedometer going down from 70 to 60 to 50 to 40 to 30, and it was just going down fast. Oh, and what I forget to tell you, it was raining. The M25, it was pouring down in rain. And I don't know if you have driven on a highway where you had trucks and bigger vehicles. My car wasn't a big car. It was a small, compact car. The sprays were spraying everywhere. The big trucks it was just like snow falling on the motorway or fog everywhere. It was just sprays. You could hardly see before you. These trucks now were passing me at high speed, and I was concerned. Wasn't worried because I trust God, but concerned that this is a high risk for someone to rear end me and send me flying. And especially the car I was driving to these big trucks, you can understand what I was talking about. Anyway, the car went down to 10 miles an hour, then to 5 miles an hour. And then I'm expecting now the car to stop. I switched lane, sticking now to the left-hand side. So if I see a hard shoulder, I can go into it and stop. If you see the picture I put up on my thumbnail, you can see how that indentation, or I call it indentation, but it is a hard shoulder, how it was. Just a small deviation from the road, or from the far left lane. Anyway, I saw a sign coming up. It said 10 miles to the nearest hard shoulder. And I said, Lord, this car not going to make it, because I was at 5 miles an hour. I don't know how the car was going, because the power had lost power. There was no petrol, even though my foot was on the petrol. And the trucks and cars was passing me at high speed. You could feel the car rocking, tossed like it wanted to be blown off the road. And I was just praying for the Lord to have mercy on me. During that time, I started thinking about my children, I started thinking about friends, and most of all, I started thinking about my life. I said, Lord, if this is a way I have to meet you, I'm asking you to cleanse me of all my sins and make me wake up in the first resurrection. I remember praying. Now, friends, this car was driving at 5 miles an hour. How it was going, God only knows. The engine was still going, which I found a bit strange. I had my hazard light on. Everyone that passed me was honking, like, get your car out of the way. But I held on to the steering, and I was just talking to God, asking him to get the car to a place that was safe. It seemed like hours to get to that 10 miles. I noticed a truck behind me, and he was flashing his headlamps. Then he slowed down right behind me, which I was going 5 miles an hour. He was exactly behind me. He flashed his lights, and I said to myself, you had another 5 lanes, so why would you be behind me to get out of your way? But then I noticed that his hazard light was now on, and he began to pilot me on the road. I said to myself, God is good, and I shout out in the car, thank you, Jesus. Now I was safe from accident, from someone rear-ended me and hitting me out of the road to somewhere which was not of this land. So this guy stayed behind me right up until I reached that hard shoulder, where I pulled into the hard shoulder, wind my glass down, and waved my hands to him, and he went on his journey. Friends, the minute I pulled into the hard shoulder, the car was dead. The engine shut off. And when I tried to start, because now it was cold, I tried to start the engine, there was nothing. Car could not start, nothing was happening. The key just turned over, the engine wasn't cranking, there was no response from the engine. The engine was completely dead. I got out of the car, put my jacket on, got out of the car, went to one of these phones on the highway, called the highway authorities and told them that I was broken down, if they could send me a tow truck or one of these recovery vehicles. And they said yes, they saw me, and they're going to close that lane that was nearest to me so I would be safe on the roadway. So I had now that little indentation, as I called it, or hard shoulder, where I stopped, and a whole lane that was empty. So what they did, as they called it, the smart motorway, anything happened on the road, they were able to close a lane, and no one could drive in that lane until they were given the go ahead or pass whatever obstacle that was in that lane cleared, so they could go ahead. It was like about 20 minutes when the tow truck came. It was the recovery vehicle came. He said to me, asked me where I was going. I told him I was going to work. I was working that night, and he said, asked me what happened. I told him, And he said, that sounds like a battery problem. So I said to him, the car started fine. I had no problems with the car actually. So I said, these things happen. But anyway, he took his things out and checked the battery. The battery was dead. He jump-started the car, and the car started, which was good news. And he realized the alternator was charging. Then realized that the alternator was not charging the battery. When he checked what was happening, there was a loose terminal on the battery, hence caused the battery not to be charged. Then he said to me, your battery is dead. How did you get here? So I said to him, listen, I know that the Lord sent angels to push this car to this place where it is now. Because the minute I got into this indentation or this hard shoulder, at 5 miles an hour, the car went dead. He looked at me and he said, okay. And this okay sounded a bit sarcastic because he was puzzled how the car got there. But as most people don't believe in God, what I was saying to him was like a myth. But I knew it was the power of God first who sent that truck behind me to drive it was probably about 7 miles to that nearest hard shoulder to protect me from the trucks that were flying and the other vehicles that were flying past me, protect me from a sure accident, and got me safely to the hard shoulder. While he was there fixing the terminal, tightening up the terminal, he charged the battery. We put the battery back in the car, started the car, and the car was ready to go. Friends and family, this experience or testimony, I was so inspired to give this testimony because I know that there is someone who is out there who needed to hear this, that God is able. And the text that came to mind is a text that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Today, families and friends, and to everyone who is watching online, let us trust God. We are going through some serious time. My uncle would say, earth runnings is getting tougher and tougher. People are taking their lives because of hardship they are suffering. People are abandoning their children because of the hardship. Young girls are left to prowl the streets, to walk the streets. I was talking to this child. She was no more than 12 years old, talking about her boyfriend who was 18 years old. And these are the things that are happening to our kids today. Mental health is on the rise because of the things that is happening in our society. People are starving, people are hungry, people are homeless, can't pay the bills. But if we put our trust in God, he said in his words, the sparrows, they do not toil, and the roses or the lilies of the garden, they do not toil, but they are reared far beautiful than Solomon, who had basically everything. So today, families and friends, let us put our trust in God. Satan is doing so much to discourage us, for us to lose hope in God. But today I'm encouraging you that continue to put your trust in God, because he is able, far more than able, to see you through. I hope you're encouraged. I hope you're strengthened from this experience, that with God in your vessel, you can smile at all the storms. Today, have a beautiful and a blessed day. The sun is shining. I know some places it's cold, but you have life. And today, the fact that you woke up this morning is a clear indication that God have a purpose for you, and that purpose is to reach the unreached. Be kind to someone. Tell someone of Jesus' love for them, and tell them that He's coming soon. Be blessed and have a great day.